I stood proudly watching my daughter Ashley receive her college diploma when Todd grabbed the microphone. My husband of 22 years announced to everyone, "I've decided to start a new life without you, Charla." His girlfriend Brianna sat among our friends, smirking. The crowd fell silent. Fighting tears, I smiled calmly. "Congratulations on your honesty." Before walking away with dignity and tact, I handed Todd an envelope containing what I had discovered. When he opened it, he started screaming uncontrollably. 22 years together, gone in an instant. As I drove away from the graduation ceremony, my hands trembling on the steering wheel, I thought about how Todd and I had built our life together from nothing. We met in college when I was studying law, and he was in dental school. Both of us came from working, class families, determined to create better lives for ourselves. After graduation, we moved to a small apartment in Pittsburgh, where I took a job at a law firm while Todd completed his residency. Money was tight, but we were happy. When Todd wanted to open his own practice, I believed in him completely. "I need to establish myself first," he told me. "Once the practice is running smoothly, you can focus on your career." So I put my ambitions on hold. I reduced my hours to part-time so I could help with his paperwork, scheduling, and patient follow-ups. When I became pregnant with Ashley 3 years later, I left my job altogether. Todd promised it would be temporary, just until she starts school, he said. "Then you can go back full-time." But there was always a reason to postpone. Ashley needed help with school projects. The practice was expanding and required more administrative support. Todd was stressed and needed a well-managed home to return to. Before I knew it, 15 years had passed. I tried not to resent the sacrifice. Todd worked hard and provided well for us. We moved from our tiny apartment to a beautiful 4-bedroom house in an upscale neighborhood. Ashley attended private school. We took vacations to Florida every winter. From the outside, our lives looked perfect. The first sign something was wrong came 6 months ago. Todd started working late without calling. He bought new clothes and cologne. His phone became password-protected. Classic signs that I willfully ignored, telling myself he was preparing for the practice's 20th anniversary. 2 weeks ago, he mentioned a dental convention in Chicago. "I'll be gone from Thursday to Sunday," he said casually over breakfast. That Friday, I called his hotel room to say goodnight. No answer. I called the front desk. "Dr. Wilson hasn't checked in yet," the receptionist told me. Still, I made excuses. Maybe he registered under the practice name. Maybe he was at a dinner with colleagues. Then, 2 days before Ashley's graduation, I used Todd's laptop to print some photos for the celebration. A text notification appeared on the screen. "Can't wait to see you tomorrow, Brianna." I clicked on it, and there it was. Hundreds of messages between my husband and Brianna Carter, the new loan officer at our bank. Pictures, plans, declarations of love. According to their exchange, they'd been seeing each other for over a year. The most recent messages revealed their plan. Todd would announce their relationship at Ashley's graduation, where all our friends and family would be gathered. "It's the perfect time for a fresh start," he wrote to her. "Everyone will be celebrating new beginnings anyway." My first instinct was to confront him immediately, but I stopped myself. Ashley had worked so hard for this day, I wouldn't let them ruin it for her. Instead, I spent the next 2 days gathering evidence. Bank statements showing unusual withdrawals, credit card bills for hotel rooms, and gifts I never received. Property records for a condo purchased 6 months ago in Todd's name only. Then I visited my old law school friend Jennifer, who now specialized in divorce cases. "Document everything," she advised, helping me compile the evidence. "And whatever you do, don't let him know you're onto him until you're ready." So, I prepared an envelope. Inside were copies of the text messages, financial records, and a letter from Jennifer outlining the legal consequences of financial infidelity. I also included a personal note. I know everything. I've known for days. But I chose not to ruin our daughter's graduation with your betrayal. I'm giving you the dignity you didn't give me. We'll discuss this like adults after today. For now, enjoy the life you've chosen. I never expected him to make his announcement publicly. I thought he'd wait until we were alone. His decision to humiliate me in front of everyone changed everything. But even in that moment of shock, I refused to give him the satisfaction of seeing me break down. What I didn't anticipate was his reaction to the envelope. As I walked away, head held high, I heard his scream echo through the auditorium. Everyone turned to watch him fall to his knees, papers scattered around him. In that moment, I realized something profound. Despite the pain coursing through me, I felt a strange sense of power. For the first time in decades, I was taking back control of my life. The hotel room door closed behind me with a soft click, and finally, alone, I collapsed. The composure I'd maintained through the ceremony shattered like glass. Sobs racked my body as I curled up on the bed, still wearing my carefully chosen graduation day outfit. My phone buzzed relentlessly. Todd, Ashley, friends calling to check on me. I ignored them all, needing this moment to fall apart before I could begin putting myself back together. After 20 minutes, I dragged myself to the bathroom and stared at my reflection. My eyes were puffy, mascara streaked down my cheeks. I barely recognized the woman looking back at me. "Who are you?" I whispered to my reflection. "Who have you become?" I splashed cold water on my face and took several deep breaths. When my phone rang again with Ashley's ringtone, I answered. "Mom?" Her voice broke. "Are you okay? Where are you?" "I'm at the Marriott downtown," I said, trying to sound steady. "I'm fine, sweetheart." "You're not fine. Nobody's fine. Dad's gone crazy. He's yelling at everyone, saying you set him up. He's trying to find you. Brianna left. Everyone's talking. My graduation is ruined." She dissolved into tears. Hearing my daughter cry snapped me out of self-pity. "Listen to me, Ashley. Nothing is ruined. You graduated with honors from Penn State. No one can take that away from you. I'm so proud of you, and this is still your day. But what's happening with you and Dad? How long have you known? Why didn't you tell me?" "I only found out 2 days ago. I didn't want to ruin your graduation. The irony wasn't lost on me. We'll talk about everything soon, I promise. Right now, go be with your friends. Celebrate your achievement." "I can't celebrate anything right now." "Yes, you can, and you will. This is your moment. I'll be fine." After convincing Ashley to join her friends, I called my sister Paige, who lived 3 hours away in Columbus. "I'm already on the road," she said before I could explain anything. "Nancy called me right after it happened. I'll be there in 2 hours." I hung up and turned my phone to silent as messages continued flooding in. Some expressed sympathy, others morbid curiosity disguised as concern. One caught my eye from my friend Grace. "Call me. There's more you need to know." I was contemplating this cryptic message when a harsh knock rattled my door. "Charla, I know you're in there. Open the door." Todd's voice. I froze, heart pounding. "You had no right to ambush me like that. Open the damn door." I remained silent, praying he'd go away. "Sir, I'm going to have to ask you to lower your voice." A new voice. "Hotel security. We've received complaints about the disturbance. My wife is in there. This is between us. If the guest doesn't want to see you, you need to leave the premises." Their voices moved down the hallway, Todd still protesting loudly. I sank onto the bed, shaking. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "This is Marcus from Marriott Security. Your husband has been escorted from the building. If he returns, we'll contact police. Let us know if you need anything." I thanked him, touched by this small kindness from a stranger. When Paige arrived, She wrapped me in a fierce hug before examining me at arm's length. "You look terrible," she said bluntly. "But considering what happened, you're holding up remarkably well." She ordered room service while I showered, and over comfort food, I shared everything. The texts, the financial discoveries, Todd's public announcement. "What I don't understand," Paige said, twirling pasta around her fork, "is why he screamed when he read what was in the envelope. If he was planning to leave you anyway, why did it upset him so much?" "Because he wanted to control the narrative," I realized. "He wanted to be the one making decisions, not responding to mine. And he definitely didn't expect me to have already talked to a lawyer." As Paige and I talked through the night, hotel staff called to inform me that Todd had returned twice more, becoming increasingly agitated each time. They had finally threatened him with arrest. The next morning, the front desk called again. "Mrs. Wilson, there's something you should know." The manager, Linda, sounded uncomfortable. "Your husband has been a regular guest here. He's had a standing reservation every other Thursday for the past 8 months. Always the same room." My stomach clenched. "With a woman?" "Yes. I shouldn't be telling you this, but after his behavior last night, I thought you should know." I thanked her, adding this new betrayal to the growing list. As Paige and I prepared to check out, my phone rang. It was Grace again. This time, I answered. "Charla, I need to see you. Not over the phone." We arranged to meet for coffee the following day. Her tone worried me, but I had more immediate concerns. I needed to go home, pack essential belongings, and find a temporary place to stay before figuring out my next steps. When we pulled into my driveway, Todd's car was there. Paige squeezed my hand. "You don't have to go in. We can call the police to escort you." "No," I said firmly. "This is still my house. I'm not sneaking in like a thief." But when I tried my key in the front door, it didn't work. The locks had been changed. I rang the doorbell, anger replacing fear. Todd opened the door, looking haggard. "You changed the locks? On our house?" "My house," he corrected coldly. "My practice paid for it." "Let me in, Todd. I need my things." I packed them. He gestured to several boxes stacked in the foyer. "Take what's yours and go." Paige stepped forward protectively. "You can't just throw her out. That's illegal." "She planned to ruin me," Todd hissed, his face contorted with rage. "She's been collecting evidence, talking to lawyers behind my back. After you cheated on her for a year and planned to humiliate her at your daughter's graduation?" Paige shot back. Their argument escalated until a car pulled into the driveway. Todd's parents, Martha and George Wilson, hurried toward us, faces tense with concern. "What in God's name is going on?" George demanded. "We've been trying to reach both of you since yesterday." Todd immediately launched into his version of events, painting himself as the victim of my calculated revenge. Martha looked at me with something between pity and disappointment. "May I show you something?" I interrupted Todd's tirade, addressing his parents directly. Martha hesitated, then nodded. I retrieved copies of the financial documents from my purse and handed them over. "These are records of money Todd has been moving to accounts I didn't know existed. Here are property records for a condo purchased 6 months ago without my knowledge or consent. And here," I pulled out phone records, "are calls and texts between Todd and multiple women over the past year." George examined the papers, his expression darkening. He looked at his son. "Is this true?" "She's twisting everything," Todd insisted. "I was planning to surprise her with the condo for our anniversary." "Then why is it in your name only?" I asked quietly. "And why were you there with Brianna last Thursday when you told me you were at a dental convention in Chicago?" Martha gasped softly. Then, surprisingly, she turned to Todd with undisguised anger. "We found a woman's earring in the lake house over Easter weekend. You told us it belonged to Charla." "It did," Todd insisted. "No," Martha said firmly. "It was a pearl drop earring. Charla's allergic to pearls. She's never worn them in the 22 years I've known her. The revelation hung in the air between us. Even Todd seemed momentarily stunned by his mother's unexpected betrayal. George handed the papers back to me. "Todd, we need to talk. Privately." His tone left no room for argument. "Charla, take what you need today. Nobody's preventing you from entering your home." As Todd followed his parents inside, shoulders slumped in defeat, I realized this was just the beginning of a long, painful battle. But for the first time, I wasn't facing it alone. The next morning, I met Grace at a quiet cafe far from our neighborhood. She looked nervous, fidgeting with her coffee cup and avoiding my eyes. "I should have told you sooner," she began. "Many of us suspected something was going on with Todd and Brianna. They weren't exactly subtle at the Christmas party last year." My coffee turned bitter in my mouth. "You knew since Christmas? That's 6 months, Grace." "I didn't know for certain," she said defensively. "And Todd told people you two were having problems, that you had grown apart. He made it sound like you had an understanding." "An understanding?" I repeated incredulously. "That my husband could publicly humiliate me? That he could drain our accounts and buy property without my knowledge?" Grace had the grace to look ashamed. "I'm sorry. We should have said something." "We? Who else knew?" She named 5 couples, all close friends we'd vacationed with, celebrated holidays with, trusted with our lives. "Why are you telling me this now?" I asked, struggling to control my emotions. "Because there's more." Grace leaned forward. "Brianna isn't the only one. Todd's been seeing Lauren Peterson from the country club, too. And..." She hesitated. "And?" I prompted, wondering how much worse this could get. "And Diane West." "Diane. My friend since college. Ashley's godmother." Grace reached for my hand, but I pulled away. "I need to go." "Charla, wait. There's something else. The condo Todd bought? It's not for Brianna. It's for Lauren. Brianna doesn't know about it either." I walked out, my world tilting on its axis. Every friendship, every relationship suddenly felt suspect. Who else had lied to my face while knowing the truth? I drove to Jennifer's law office in a daze. She welcomed me with a sympathetic smile and clear, practical advice. "First, we document everything and file for divorce, citing adultery and financial misconduct. Second, we get a forensic accountant to track down all assets. Third, we secure your financial future." "How?" "He's the one with the successful practice. I haven't worked in 15 years. Jennifer's smile turned fierce. "That practice exists because of your sacrifice. Your career was put on hold to support his. That's a partnership, legally and practically." Besides, she glanced at the financial records spread across her desk. "He's been making some questionable business decisions lately. Large withdrawals, unusual transfers." "What kind of transfers?" "To offshore accounts, primarily. Started about 10 months ago. She showed me statements I hadn't seen before. We subpoenaed these this morning. Based on the pattern, I'd say he's been planning this split for at least a year, moving assets where he thinks you can't reach them." The systematic betrayal left me breathless. "Can we get it back?" "Some of it. Maybe all. Depends how clever he thinks he's been." As we strategized, my phone rang. It was Martha Wilson. "Charla, dear, can we meet? George and I would like to talk to you." I agreed, puzzled by her tone. We arranged to meet at a restaurant near Jennifer's office. When I arrived, Martha and George were already seated in a quiet corner booth. They looked grim. "We confronted Todd," George said without preamble. "We asked him directly about the money, the women, all of it. He denied everything, even with evidence staring him in the face." Martha reached across the table, taking my hand in hers. "We raised him better than this. We don't know what's happened to him, but we want you to know we're on your side." I blinked back tears, caught off guard by their loyalty. "That means a lot to me." "It's more than words," George continued. I've been doing Todd's business accounting for years. I know where the bodies are buried, so to speak. He placed a USB drive on the table. Account numbers, passwords, records of transfers he thought I didn't notice. It's all there. I stared at the small device. Why are you giving me this? Because it's the right thing to do, Martha said simply. And because we love Ashley. We don't want her caught in a vicious battle that destroys her relationship with both her parents. George's expression hardened. I confronted him about the offshore accounts last night. He claimed they were legitimate tax shelters for the practice. When I pressed him, he admitted Brianna helped set them up through her bank connections. Brianna? This was unexpected. She has that kind of authority at the bank? Not officially, which makes this worse. If her employers find out, she could face serious consequences. Todd doesn't seem to care about that risk, for her or himself. I took the drive, profoundly moved by their integrity. Thank you. I don't know what to say. Say you'll be fair, Martha replied. Use this to get what you rightfully deserve, but don't destroy him completely. Whatever he's done, he's still Ashley's father. I promise, I assured them, meaning it despite my anger. I don't want revenge. I just want what's fair. After they left, I immediately returned to Jennifer's office and handed her the drive. Todd's parents just gave me this. They say it contains evidence of all his financial maneuvers. Jennifer's eyebrows shot up as she plugged in the drive and examined its contents. Charla, this is incredible. Bank accounts in the Caymans, property holdings we didn't know about. She looked up at me. Do you know what this means? Todd's parents just handed you the divorce case on a silver platter. As Jennifer continued exploring the files, my phone buzzed with a text from Ashley. Dad's telling everyone you're having a breakdown and making false accusations. I don't know what to believe anymore. My heart sank. Of course, Todd would try to turn our daughter against me. I called her immediately. Ashley, listen to me. Everything your father's saying is damage control. I have evidence of everything. His parents have seen it. They believe me. Grandma and Grandpa? She sounded surprised. Dad said they're supporting him completely. That's not true. I just met with them. They gave me financial records proving what your father's been doing. There was a long silence. I don't know how to process any of this. My entire life feels like a lie. Not a lie, I said gently. Complicated, yes, but the love in our family was real. Still is. This is between your father and me. It doesn't change how either of us feels about you. He's asking me to stay with him at the house. Says you abandoned us both. The manipulation made my blood boil, but I kept my voice even. I didn't abandon anyone, Ashley. Your father changed the locks and packed my things in boxes. But where you stay is your choice. I'd never put you in the middle. After hanging up, I felt a new resolve hardening within me. Todd wasn't just fighting for assets. He was fighting for our daughter's loyalty. The stakes had never been higher. 3 days later, I sat in a coffee shop with Sam Kennedy, my former colleague from the law firm where I'd worked before Ashley was born. We hadn't spoken in years, but Jennifer had suggested reaching out to him. Divorce law isn't my specialty, Sam admitted, but corporate litigation is. If Todd's been using business entities to hide assets, that's where I can help. Sam had aged well, silver threading through his dark hair, laugh lines deepening around his eyes. He'd made partner at Morrison & Blake, one of Pittsburgh's top firms. Jennifer mentioned your inheritance, he continued. The money from your grandmother that Todd used to expand his practice 10 years ago. $200,000, I confirmed. It was supposed to be an investment. We never formalized anything because, well, we were married. I trusted him. Sam frowned. No paperwork at all? Just emails between us discussing how the money would be used and that I'd have partial ownership in the expanded practice. Those emails might be enough, especially combined with the financial records from Todd's father. Speaking of the practice, Sam slid a folder across the table. My investigator found something interesting. Todd listed the practice for sale 2 weeks ago. What? I gasped. He can't sell it without my consent. Legally, you're right. But he's trying anyway. The listing describes it as a turnkey operation with zero encumbrances. No mention of your ownership interest. Anger burned through me. Can we stop him? Already on it. I filed an emergency injunction this morning. But Charla, Sam leaned forward, eyes serious. There's something else you should consider. Have you thought about what comes next? After the divorce? I blinked, caught off guard. Honestly, I've been in survival mode, one day at a time. You were a damn good lawyer. Sharp, intuitive, great with clients. His expression turned thoughtful. We have an opening in our family law division. The hours are flexible. It would be a way back into the profession. Sam, I haven't practiced in 15 years. My license is inactive. So reactivate it. Take the continuing education courses. I'll help. He shrugged as if it were the simplest thing in the world. Unless you don't want to practice anymore? The question struck a chord. Did I want to return to law? I'd set it aside so completely. I'd stopped considering it a possibility. I need to think about it, I said finally. Sam nodded. Fair enough. The offer stands. In the meantime, let's focus on protecting your interests in the dental practice. As we strategized, my phone rang. It was a number I didn't recognize. Mrs. Wilson? This is Harold Benson from First National Bank. I'm calling about the home equity loan application. What home equity loan? There was an awkward pause. The one submitted last week against your property on Linden Drive. It's been approved for $400,000. My stomach dropped. I never applied for any loan. Oh, another pause. The application has both your signatures. The funds are scheduled for disbursement tomorrow. Stop it immediately, I ordered. That's fraud. I never signed anything. After a frantic conversation with the banker, I hung up and explained the situation to Sam. He's forged your signature, Sam concluded grimly. This is beyond divorce strategy now. This is criminal. Back at Jennifer's office, we compiled all the evidence. The offshore accounts, the attempted practice sale, and now the fraudulent loan application. The picture it painted was damning. The question is, Jennifer said, who helped him with the loan? The bank requires notarized signatures for this amount. An uncomfortable thought occurred to me. Brianna works at First National. The girlfriend? Sam looked up sharply. What's her position there? Loan officer. Jennifer and Sam exchanged glances. We need to report this to the bank's fraud department and the state banking commission, Sam decided. Brianna could lose her license over this. The implications were staggering. Todd and Brianna hadn't just betrayed me emotionally, they'd committed fraud together. As we prepared the complaints, my phone buzzed with a text from Ashley. Mom, something weird is happening. Dad's frantically packing things from his office. Says he's going on a trip. I showed the message to Sam. He's running. Sam immediately called a judge he knew, explaining the situation. Within an hour, we had an emergency court order freezing all of Todd's assets and prohibiting him from leaving the county. By evening, sheriff's deputies had served Todd with the order at the house. According to Ashley, he'd been in the middle of packing when they arrived. That night, as I sat in my temporary apartment reviewing legal documents, I received an unexpected visit. It was Brianna Carter, looking nothing like the confident woman who had smirked at me during the graduation ceremony. I didn't know, she said, her voice shaking. About the other women, about the financial fraud. I thought I was special. I thought we were building a future together. Why are you here? I asked coldly. Because the bank suspended me today. They're investigating the loan Todd applied for. If they find evidence I helped him, I could face criminal charges. Her eyes pleaded for sympathy. He told me you had agreed to the loan. He showed me an email from you. A fake email. I know that now. She pulled out her phone. I have texts where he asked me to expedite the loan process, and documentation that he asked me to bypass certain verification steps. I want to make a deal. I'm not a prosecutor. No, but you know people who are. Put in a good word for me, and this is all yours. She held up her phone. Complete evidence of fraud. I studied her. This woman who had helped destroy my marriage. You really didn't know about Lauren? Or Diane? Pain flashed across her face. No. I found out yesterday when he called Lauren while we were together. Left his phone unlocked when he went to shower. I saw everything. I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. Leave your phone, I said. I'll have copies made of everything and return it tomorrow. I can't promise anything with the prosecutors, but I'll tell them you cooperated voluntarily. After she left, I forwarded the evidence to Jennifer and Sam. Then I sat on my couch, staring at the wall, thinking about the job offer. The thought of returning to law, of reclaiming that part of myself that had been set aside for so long, filled me with unexpected energy. I pulled out my laptop and searched for continuing legal education courses. By midnight, I had registered for 3 classes and submitted my application to reactivate my license. For the first time since Todd's announcement at the graduation, I felt a glimmer of hope. Not just for justice in the divorce, but for the life waiting beyond it. 2 weeks after the graduation, I was invited to Susan Roberts' annual summer party. Susan and her husband, Bill, had been friends with Todd and me for over a decade. Their daughter was Ashley's best friend since kindergarten. Under normal circumstances, I wouldn't have gone, still raw from Todd's betrayal. But Jennifer encouraged me. Show your face, she advised. Don't let him control the narrative or exile you from your own social circle. So I put on a sundress, applied makeup to hide the shadows under my eyes, and drove to the Roberts lakeside home. Music and laughter spilled from the backyard as I approached. I took a deep breath and stepped onto the patio. The conversations nearest me stuttered to a halt. Familiar faces turned, expressions ranging from sympathy to discomfort to undisguised curiosity. Susan hurried over, hugging me with forced brightness. Charla, I'm so glad you came. Everyone's been asking about you. Have they? I glanced around, noticing how some people suddenly became fascinated with their drinks. Funny, no one's called to check on me. Susan flushed. It's been a difficult time for everyone. No one knows quite what to say. How about, I'm sorry your husband of 22 years publicly humiliated you and committed fraud. That would be a start. The words came out sharper than I intended. Susan looked stricken. I'm sorry, I sighed. That wasn't fair. No, you're right. She squeezed my arm. We've all been cowards, afraid of taking sides. As Susan led me to the bar, I spotted familiar groups of couples, our longtime social circle. They smiled and waved, but there was a new distance in their eyes. I'd become a cautionary tale, a reminder that even decades, long marriages could implode spectacularly. Jack Taylor, Bill's business partner, approached with his wife Anne. Charla, you look wonderful, Anne gushed. How are you holding up? Before I could answer, Jack cut in. We had dinner with Todd last week. He seems shocked. Says he never meant things to get so public. Really? I kept my voice level. The man who grabbed a microphone at our daughter's graduation to announce he was leaving me never meant things to get public? Jack had the decency to look embarrassed. Well, he said it was a heat of the moment decision, that you two had agreed to separate privately, but then he found out about your evidence gathering and felt betrayed. Interesting version of events. I took a sip of wine. Did he mention the offshore accounts, the forged loan documents, the multiple girlfriends? Anne's eyes widened. Multiple? At least 3 that I know of. Ask Brianna about it. Oh, wait, you can't. She's been suspended from her job pending a fraud investigation. I moved away, suddenly desperate for air. On the deck overlooking the lake, I found a quiet corner and tried to steady my breathing. They're all talking about you, you know. I turned to find Grace watching me, martini in hand. Let them talk, I said wearily. It's not all bad. Some people are impressed with how you handled it, walking away with dignity instead of causing a scene. It made Todd look like the unstable one. I don't care how it looked. I care about the truth. Grace studied me over her glass. The truth is complicated. Todd's been telling people you monitored his phone, hired a private investigator, planned to take him for everything he had. And you believe him? I know better. She lowered her voice. Lauren told me everything. How Todd promised to leave you for her, then said the same thing to Brianna, how he manipulated both of them. And Diane? Did she know she was mistress number 3? Grace winced. Diane thought she was special, the one he really loved. Todd told her the others were just physical, but what they had was emotional. The calculated cruelty of it all left me speechless. Todd had Taylor, made his deceptions for each woman, exploiting their specific vulnerabilities. There's something else, Grace continued. Lauren says Todd planned the graduation announcement months ago. He told her it was the perfect strategy because you'd be too concerned about ruining Ashley's day to make a scene. He expected you to break down, to look emotionally unstable. Your composure ruined his plan. This new information struck me like a physical blow. The premeditation, the psychological calculation, the deliberate intent to humiliate me at our daughter's milestone moment, it revealed a level of malice I hadn't fully grasped. How could I have been so blind? I whispered. 22 years with someone, and I never saw this side of him. Because he hid it well, Grace said simply. Even from himself, probably. As the party continued around us, I noticed people watching us, curious about our intense conversation. Among them was Lauren Peterson herself, hovering uncertainly at the edge of the patio. Our eyes met, and after a moment's hesitation, she walked over. I need to talk to you, she said without preamble. Not here. Can we meet tomorrow? I studied the woman who had been sleeping with my husband. Tall, blonde, at least 10 years younger than me. Why should I agree to that? Because I have recordings. Her voice dropped to a whisper. Todd talking about his plan for the graduation announcement, discussing how to hide money from you. Things you can use. The next day, I met Lauren at a park, far from our usual social haunts. She handed me a USB drive, similar to the one Todd's parents had given me. He recorded everything, she explained. Calls, meetings, conversations with Brianna about the loan fraud. He kept it as insurance in case any of us turned on him. And you took his recordings? Copied them. He doesn't know. She didn't meet my eyes. I'm not proud of my role in all this. I believed everything he told me about your marriage being over in all but name. I pocketed the drive. Thank you for this. But I have to ask, why help me now? Why not earlier? Lauren finally looked at me directly. Because, at the graduation, when he made that announcement, I saw the shock on your face. Real shock. That's when I knew he'd been lying to me all along. And then watching how you handled it with such dignity. She shook her head. I realized I'd been on the wrong side. The USB drive contained exactly what Lauren promised. Hours of Todd's conversations, revealing his calculated plan to leave me financially devastated. In one particularly damning recording, he laughed about how I would never see it coming and would be too emotional to think clearly after his public announcement. I delivered the recordings to Jennifer and Sam, who were building an increasingly strong case. The forensic accountant had traced most of the missing money. The bank's fraud investigation had uncovered clear evidence of Brianna's involvement in the loan application. The emergency injunction had prevented Todd from selling the practice. But as the legal wheels turned, I found myself emotionally exhausted. The constant revelations, the community's divided loyalties, the need to present a strong face to the world, it all took a toll. Only in the privacy of my temporary apartment did I allow myself to cry, to rage, to mourn the life I thought I had. Through it all, Ashley struggled with her own feelings of betrayal. She moved between staying with me and staying at the house with Todd, torn between her parents. I never pressured her, never spoke ill of her father in her presence, though it took enormous restraint. "I don't understand how someone can change so completely," she told me one evening as we shared takeout in my apartment. "People don't usually change completely," I said carefully. "They reveal parts of themselves that were always there, just hidden." "So Dad was always like this? Calculating and cruel?" "No, sweetheart. I think your father lost his way somehow. Started believing he deserved more. Became obsessed with the excitement of secret lives. One step led to another, until he couldn't find his way back to the man he used to be." "The man you loved?" "Yes. The man I loved very much, for many years." Ashley pushed her food around her plate. "He wants to meet with you. Says he can explain everything." I set down my fork. "Did he ask you to tell me that?" "Yes." She looked guilty. "He says things have gotten out of hand, that lawyers are making everything worse. He wants to talk, just the two of you." The request came as Todd's world continued crumbling around him. The practice was losing patience after the hygienist, Nancy, quit and filed a whistleblower complaint about unethical billing practices. Brianna had broken things off completely after learning the full extent of his deceptions. His parents remained firmly in my corner, providing emotional support to both Ashley and me. Despite every instinct screaming against it, I agreed to meet him. Not at our house, not at my apartment, but on neutral ground, a conference room at Jennifer's office, with attorneys present. The man who walked in looked nothing like the confident, charming dentist who had stood up at our daughter's graduation. Todd appeared haggard, haunted, his clothes hanging loosely on his frame. "Thank you for meeting me," he began stiffly. "I wanted to discuss terms directly, without all this legal maneuvering." Jennifer interjected coolly. "Any terms can be proposed through proper channels, Dr. Wilson. This meeting is a courtesy." "I'm not talking to you," he snapped, then turned to me. "Charla, this has all spiraled out of control. I made mistakes, serious ones. But you're destroying everything we built." "I'm destroying it?" I kept my voice level. "You're the one who drained our accounts, forged my signature, and publicly humiliated me at our daughter's graduation. That was poor judgment on my part. I regret it deeply." His tone softened, taking on the contrite quality that had worked on me so many times before. "But we can still salvage something from this. For Ashley's sake, if nothing else." "Salvage what, exactly?" "A civilized divorce, a fair division of assets. I'll move my share of the money back from the offshore accounts. You keep the house. I'll pay generous alimony." "And the practice?" Sam interjected. "The practice Charla's inheritance helped build?" Todd's expression hardened. "The practice is mine. It has my name, my dental license. That's non-negotiable." I studied the man I had spent most of my adult life with, searching for any trace of the person I thought I knew. I found none. "No," I said simply. "No what?" "No to your terms. No to private negotiations. No to anything that isn't completely transparent and fair." Todd's facade of contrition cracked. "You'll regret this approach, Charla. I still have options you don't know about." "Is that a threat?" Jennifer asked sharply. "It's a reality check." He stood abruptly. "I came here in good faith. You've made your choice." As he reached the door, I couldn't resist one final question. "Was any of it real, Todd? Any of it at all?" He paused, hand on the doorknob. For a moment, something like genuine emotion crossed his face. "Yes, until it wasn't anymore. Then he was gone." I sat in stunned silence, processing his cryptic answer. Jennifer squeezed my shoulder. "He's desperate," she said. "All his plans are falling apart. That's why he wanted this meeting to salvage what he could on his terms." Sam nodded in agreement. The fact that he offered to return the offshore money proves he knows we can get it anyway. Don't second guess your decision, Charla. We're winning. Winning. The word felt hollow. In this war of divorce, even victory would come with devastating casualties. Trust, security, memories now tainted beyond redemption. But as I walked out of the office into the summer sunshine, I felt a strange lightness. Todd's final answer had given me something unexpected. Closure. Whatever we'd had was gone, irretrievably. All that remained was to secure my future and protect my relationship with Ashley. And perhaps, I thought as I remembered Sam's job offer, to reclaim the professional identity I had set aside so long ago. 1 month after the fateful graduation ceremony, I stood in front of the Pennsylvania Disciplinary Board offices, heart pounding. After completing an intensive continuing legal education course, I was here to file my application for reinstatement to active status with the bar. The process would take time review of my application, possibly a hearing, character references. But it was a concrete step toward reclaiming my professional identity. That afternoon, I met Sam at his office. The Morrison and Blake sign gleamed in the sunlight as I entered the imposing downtown building. Sam greeted me warmly, leading me to a conference room where 3 other partners waited. Everyone, this is Charla Wilson, one of the sharpest legal minds I've ever worked with. The introductions and conversation that followed felt surreal. These accomplished attorneys were discussing bringing me on, initially as counsel while my license reactivated, then as a full associate with partner potential. We've been expanding our family law practice, explained Patricia Hernandez, head of the division. Your personal experience combined with your legal background offers a valuable perspective. I haven't practiced in 15 years, I reminded them. I'll be starting from scratch in many ways. Not entirely, Patricia countered. Law is like riding a bicycle. The basics come back quickly. And your life experience gives you insight many attorneys lack. Walking out with a formal offer letter in hand, I felt a strange mixture of excitement and terror. Could I really do this? Return to a professional world that had continued evolving without me? The prospect was as daunting as it was exhilarating. At my apartment, I found Ashley waiting, her expression troubled. Dad's been calling me constantly, she said without preamble. He sent me these. She held out her phone, showing photos of me entering Sam's office building. He says you're sleeping with Sam to get legal advantages. The accusation was so absurd I actually laughed. Sam is happily married with 3 children. He was my colleague before I met your father. And today I held up the offer letter. He and his partners offered me a job. Ashley's eyes widened. You're going back to being a lawyer? I'm trying to. It's going to take work, but yes. She hugged me suddenly, fiercely. I'm proud of you, Mom. Her simple words meant more than she could possibly know. The next day, I received an urgent call from Jennifer. Todd made a significant cash withdrawal yesterday. $300,000. How? I thought his accounts were frozen. The business operating account wasn't included in the freeze. He emptied it. The bank flagged it, but legally, they had to allow it. Alarm shot through me. Where is he now? Unknown. He didn't show up for a scheduled deposition this morning. His attorney claims he's ill. I immediately called Ashley, relief flooding through me when she answered. Have you heard from your father today? No. He was supposed to take me to dinner last night but canceled last minute, said he had an emergency with a patient. After hanging up, I called Martha Wilson. Have you spoken to Todd? Not since Sunday dinner, she said, concern evident in her voice. George tried calling him about some insurance paperwork, but he didn't answer. Why? What's happening? The picture emerging was troubling. Large cash withdrawal, missed deposition, canceling plans with Ashley, not responding to his parents. It appeared Todd might be preparing to flee. Jennifer agreed. I'm filing an emergency motion to prevent him from leaving the country and alerting the district attorney about potential flight to avoid prosecution for the loan fraud. By evening, a judge had granted the motion, ordering Todd to surrender his passport. Sheriff's deputies were dispatched to serve the order at his home. They found the house empty, with clear signs of hasty packing. Todd's car was gone, as was his passport, according to the empty slot in his desk drawer. For 48 tense hours, no one could locate him. Ashley was distraught, convinced her father had abandoned her just as he had me. I tried to reassure her while grappling with my own fear and anger. Then, on the third day, George Wilson called. He's at the lake house. Showed up late last night, clearly intoxicated. He's talking nonsense about starting over somewhere tropical. Relief mingled with resolve. Can you keep him there until the authorities arrive? Already called them. They're on their way. Todd was taken into custody for violating the court order and for the pending fraud charges related to the forged loan application. His attorneys arranged bail, but his passport was confiscated, and he was prohibited from leaving the county. The arrest made local news. Prominent dentist arrested on fraud charges, the headlines declared. The public spectacle completed Todd's professional downfall. The practice he had spent decades building was now tainted beyond redemption. Meanwhile, I threw myself into preparation for returning to legal practice. Hours of study, online courses, meetings with Sam and Patricia to discuss cases I'd be assisting with. The intellectual challenge was invigorating after years focused primarily on supporting others. Ashley watched my transformation with a mixture of pride and bewilderment. "You seem different," she observed one evening as I reviewed case law. "More alive somehow." "I feel different," I admitted. "Like I'm remembering parts of myself I'd forgotten existed." "Was it hard? Giving up your career for Dad and me?" I considered the question carefully. At the time, it felt like the right choice. I loved you both deeply. But, yes, sometimes it was hard feeling like I'd lost a part of my identity. "I'm sorry." "Don't be. You were the best part of those years, Ashley. Never doubt that." As the summer progressed, so did the divorce proceedings. With Todd's attempt to flee, his credibility with the court was shattered. The forensic accountant had tracked most of the hidden money. The practice valuation confirmed my significant interest due to my inheritance investment. The evidence of fraud was overwhelming. Todd's attorneys began floating settlement offers, each more favorable to me than the last. Jennifer and Sam advised patience. "He's desperate now," Sam explained. "Each day his position weakens. Let him sweat." 3 months after the graduation announcement, I received an unexpected visit at my apartment. It was Todd, looking nothing like either the confident man who had humiliated me or the desperate one who had attempted to flee. This Todd seemed broken, humbled. "Can we talk?" he asked quietly. "Just us. No lawyers." Against my better judgment, I let him in, leaving the door ajar. He stood awkwardly in my living room, taking in the modest surroundings. "I heard you're going back to practicing law," he said finally. "Yes. I start next month." "That's good. You were always brilliant at it." He hesitated. "I came to say I'm sorry. Not just for the end, but for how much of yourself you gave up for me. I didn't appreciate it enough." The apology, so long overdue, landed with strange emptiness. "Why now, Todd?" "Because I've lost everything that matters. My practice is collapsing. Patients are leaving in droves. Nancy's billing fraud allegations triggered an insurance audit. My reputation is destroyed." He met my eyes directly. "But worse than all that, I've lost Ashley's respect. She can barely look at me." "That's between you and her." "I know." He took a deep breath. "I'm accepting the settlement terms your lawyers proposed. All of them. The practice valuation, the alimony, the division of assets, everything." I studied him, searching for the trick, the angle. Why? Because fighting is only making everything worse. And because he looked away, because it's what I should have done from the beginning, the fair thing. After he left, I sat motionless, processing the conversation. Todd's capitulation should have felt like victory. Instead, it felt like the quiet ending of a chapter that had consumed most of my adult life. I called Jennifer to relay the conversation. She was cautiously optimistic, but insisted on getting everything in writing. People facing criminal charges often have moments of clarity that fade once the immediate pressure eases. The next day, Todd's attorneys submitted formal acceptance of our settlement terms. The divorce could now proceed uncontested, the financial arrangements clearly defined. There would be no trial, no further legal battles. That evening, Ashley came to dinner, bringing a dusty box she'd found in the attic of the house. "Look what I found," she said, opening it to reveal my law school materials. Textbooks, notes, my graduation tassel. "I can't believe he kept these," I murmured, running my fingers over my constitutional law textbook. "There's something else." Ashley pulled out a frame containing my law school diploma and a faded photograph of Todd and me at my graduation, both beaming with pride and hope. The image struck me with unexpected force. Two young people with their futures ahead, untouched by the betrayals to come. "I remember that day," I said softly. "I'd just accepted my first position at Martin and Green. We were so excited about building our lives together." Ashley watched me closely. "Do you regret any of it? Marrying him?" The question deserved honest consideration. "No," I said finally. "Despite everything, that marriage gave me you. It gave me 22 years that had plenty of joy mixed with the pain. And in a strange way, it's giving me this new beginning." As Ashley hugged me, I realized we had both been irrevocably changed by Todd's actions, but perhaps not entirely for the worse. We had discovered reserves of strength neither of us knew we possessed. We had learned painful but valuable truths about resilience and self-worth, and I had rediscovered a part of myself long set aside but never truly lost. 3 years after Todd's devastating graduation announcement, I sat in another auditorium, watching our daughter accept another diploma. Ashley had followed in my footsteps, graduating from law school with honors. The journey to this moment had been neither simple nor painless, but sitting there, filled with maternal pride, the complicated path seemed worth every difficult step. The divorce had finalized quickly once Todd accepted the settlement terms. I received half the value of his practice, the house, which I promptly sold, and substantial alimony that would decrease gradually as my legal career reestablished. Most importantly, I received my freedom and the chance to rebuild my life on my terms. My re-entry into legal practice had begun tentatively. Even with Sam's mentorship and Patricia's guidance, the learning curve was steep. Legal technology had evolved dramatically. Precedents had shifted. The confident young attorney I once was had to be painstakingly reconstructed, piece by piece. There were moments of doubt and frustration, late nights questioning my decision, mornings battling imposter syndrome as I prepared for meetings with clients who looked at me skeptically, wondering about the gray-haired new associate. But with each small victory, a motion granted, a settlement negotiated, a client's gratitude, my confidence grew. Now, 3 years later, I had carved out a respected position at Morrison & Blake, specializing in helping women navigate complex divorces involving financial deception. My personal experience, combined with renewed legal expertise, made me uniquely effective. I understood not just the legal complexities, but the emotional devastation my clients faced. As Ashley walked across the stage, tassel swinging, I felt a surge of emotion so powerful it nearly overwhelmed me. Despite everything, she had thrived. The painful lessons of her parents' divorce had shaped, but not broken her. Instead, they had inspired her interest in family law and victims' advocacy. When the ceremony concluded, I made my way through the crowd to find Ashley, eager to celebrate. As I approached, I saw her speaking with someone whose back was to me. A familiar back, Todd. I hesitated, unsure whether to interrupt, but Ashley spotted me and waved me over. Todd turned, and for the first time in nearly 2 years, we stood face to face. He had aged visibly. The confident posture was gone, replaced by a slight stoop. His once perfectly maintained appearance now showed signs of neglect. His suit slightly rumpled, his haircut less precise. But his eyes, when they met mine, held something I hadn't seen in our final years together. Genuine humility. "Congratulations," he said quietly. "She's extraordinary. You raised her well these last few years." The simple acknowledgement that I had been the constant in Ashley's life, while he struggled with legal and professional consequences, seemed to cost him, but he offered it sincerely. "Thank you," I replied. "She is extraordinary. Always has been." Ashley looked between us, a mixture of hope and wariness in her expression. "Dad came to take us both to lunch. I told him I'd check with you first." The invitation surprised me. After the divorce, Todd had cycled through anger, manipulation, and desperate attempts to win Ashley's loyalty. Eventually, as his life continued unraveling, he had retreated, his relationship with our daughter becoming increasingly distant. This gesture seemed to signal yet another shift. "I'd like that," I found myself saying. The lunch was strained, but civil. We focused on Ashley, her accomplishments, her plans to join a public interest law firm. The conversation carefully sidestepped our shared past until coffee arrived, and Todd cleared his throat nervously. "I've been wanting to tell you both something," he began. "I've been in therapy for 2 years now. Intensive work. It's helped me understand things about myself I never wanted to face." Ashley and I exchanged glances, neither of us quite ready to trust this apparent self-awareness. "I realized I've never properly apologized to either of you," he continued. "Not really. I've made excuses, blamed circumstances, tried to justify my actions. But the truth is simpler and harder to admit. I betrayed you both because I couldn't face my own inadequacies." "What inadequacies?" Ashley asked. "You were successful, respected. You had everything." Todd shook his head. "On the surface, yes. But inside, I was terrified of aging, of becoming irrelevant. I was jealous of your intelligence, Charla. Always was, even when I pretended to support you. Part of why I wanted you to stop practicing law was because I was afraid you'd outshine me." The admission landed with stunning force. After years of pain and questioning, the truth was both simpler and more complex than I had imagined. The affairs, the graduation announcement, all of it I was trying to feel powerful when I actually felt diminished, Todd continued. It was never about you, either of you. It was about my failures as a person. I studied the man I had once loved, now finally speaking a truth that might have saved our marriage had it come years earlier. Why tell us this now? Because you both deserve to know it wasn't your fault. And because, he hesitated, because I'm moving away. Starting over somewhere smaller. The practice is gone. Most of our friends have chosen sides, and rightfully, they've chosen yours. There's nothing left for me here, except painful reminders of what I destroyed. As we parted after lunch, Todd handed me an envelope. Please don't open this until you're alone. It's something I should have given you 3 years ago. Later that evening, after Ashley had left to celebrate with friends, I finally opened the envelope. Inside was a letter and a small key. The letter began simply, I never told you what was actually in the envelope you gave me at graduation. With growing astonishment, I read Todd's account of that day from his perspective. The envelope I'd handed him hadn't contained only evidence of his affairs and financial misconduct, though those were certainly included. The last page, the one that had driven him to his knees screaming, was a personal letter I'd written. According to Todd, the letter had expressed not rage or threats, but forgiveness. I had written that while his betrayal had wounded me deeply, I refused to let it destroy me or poison our daughter's life with bitterness. I had released him from our marriage with dignity, asking only for honesty and fairness in return. Your capacity for grace in the face of my cruelty broke something in me, Todd wrote. Not because it made me feel guilty, but because it showed me how small I had become compared to your greatness of spirit. In that moment, I realized what I was throwing away, not just a loyal wife, but a woman of extraordinary character. The key, he explained, opened a safe deposit box containing original documents I had been seeking during the divorce. The agreement about my inheritance, investment in his practice, property deeds, insurance policies. He had hidden them during our legal battle, another act of petty vengeance he now deeply regretted. You won our divorce fairly and completely, his letter concluded. But the truth is, you won the moment you handed me that envelope 3 years ago. Your strength and dignity have always been your greatest weapons. I just hope someday Ashley and you might find it possible, if not to forgive me, then to remember that there were good years too, before I lost my way. I set the letter down, emotions swirling. The fact that Todd had held on to this misrepresentation for 3 years, only now revealing the truth, spoke volumes about his continued struggle with honesty. Yet something about his belated confession rang true. He had been destroyed not by my legal strategy, but by my refusal to descend to his level of cruelty. The weeks following Ashley's graduation brought unexpected developments. I was offered a partnership at Morrison & Blake, the culmination of 3 years of rebuilding my professional identity. Ashley settled into her new position, already making a name for herself representing vulnerable clients. And I met James. James Harrington was a widower, a civil rights attorney whose wife had died of cancer 5 years earlier. We connected during a legal conference where we both presented papers on ethical approaches to family law. Our first date was a 6-hour conversation over coffee that felt like minutes. Our second was a weekend hike that revealed a shared love of nature and quiet reflection. Unlike my relationship with Todd, with James, I felt no need to diminish myself to accommodate his ego. He listened to my opinions with genuine interest, challenged my thinking respectfully, and spoke of his late wife with a healthy combination of love and acceptance that showed his capacity for emotional honesty. 6 months later, as James and I discussed moving in together, I received one final letter from Todd, postmarked from Arizona. He had indeed moved away as planned, starting a modest practice in a small town. He was dating a local teacher, taking things slowly and seeing a therapist together from the beginning. He sounded, for perhaps the first time in years, at peace with himself. The letter ended with a question. What was really in that envelope, Charla? What did you actually write that made me fall apart so completely? I never answered his letter. Some mysteries are better left unexplained, some narratives more powerful in their ambiguity. Let Todd believe that my capacity for forgiveness had been his undoing. The truth that the envelope had contained exactly what he feared, incontrovertible evidence of his betrayal, with a simple note saying, I know everything would serve no purpose now. My real power had come not from what was in the envelope, but from what happened afterward. My refusal to be defined by his betrayal, my determination to reclaim my professional identity, my commitment to showing Ashley that crisis can become opportunity when faced with courage. On a bright spring morning, 3.5 years after Todd's public announcement, I stood with James, Ashley, and a small circle of friends outside the courthouse, where I had just won a significant case helping a woman much like myself. As champagne corks popped and congratulations flowed, I caught Ashley watching me with a mixture of pride and curiosity. You know what I just realized? She said, linking her arm through mine. That day at my college graduation, when everything fell apart, it wasn't an ending. It was the beginning of you becoming who you were always meant to be. I hugged her close, this remarkable young woman who had weathered the storm alongside me. Sometimes the most painful moments are actually doorways, I told her. It just takes courage to walk through them. As James joined us, slipping his hand comfortably into mine, I thought about the long journey from that devastating graduation day to this moment of genuine contentment. The path had been neither straight nor easy, but standing here surrounded by earned love and respect, I wouldn't change a single step. What I had once viewed as an ending had indeed become a beginning not just of a new chapter, but of an entirely new story. My story, finally written in my own voice. Have you ever experienced a painful ending that eventually revealed itself to be a powerful beginning? I'd love to hear your stories in the comments below. And if this story resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might need to be reminded that our lowest moments don't define us. Our response to them does. Thank you for listening, and remember, sometimes the most beautiful chapters of our lives start with turning the page on a difficult one.